Craig Smoke.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist with us, all three here on set. Just a little bit, a mile away from McClain Stadium and a little less than that away from the Foster Pavilion. John McClain, Hall of Famer, joins us. John, Paul brought this up earlier today about the Cowboys looking at the decision to possibly let Dak run his course with his contract. I kind of like it. I know that might be suicide. Your thoughts?
Well, if they do, they'll have to start over next year. I don't believe that Trey Lance is the answer. We know it's not Cooper Rush. So they'll be in the business of trying to get a quarterback coming off another good season in which they will not be in position to draft one, because where they'll be drafting, which is always in the 20s, you can't pay enough to move up to get a top prospect. Now, next year's draft is not supposed to be anything like this year's draft. So if you need one, you should do it now. Free agents, you never know. I'll be real surprised if something is not done with Dak's contract that will extend him. Could be next year, could be this year, but he shows no signs of letting up. As you guys know, the only criticism of him is in the playoffs, and he's not the only one who spit the bit in the playoffs, starting with Mike McCarthy, really, and every other coach since Jimmy Johnson. You don't count Barry Switzer because he won with Jimmy's players, but you talk about walking a tightrope, and you're right there on the verge of falling off. When the Cowboys have to start over and go through the growing pains, that can be dangerous.
Well, and they've never really had to do that, John. I mean, not since Tony Romo. They got lucky in that Dak. They got Dak in that draft. They had one bad year, and then the worst they are is mediocre. So they don't have the ability to completely burn it down to the rivets and start again.
Well, they may say, okay, we got Dak in the fourth round. We got Romo undrafted, but Romo had to sit for 3 years. And Dak was a great scouting job, a great coaching job of him to help him develop quick. Maybe everything will work out next year. He's not going to the poorhouse anyway we look at it. But, boy, when you roll the dice like they are, it puts you in a really, really difficult predicament when you think about that position. I'm stunned they haven't done it yet and seem to be happy to take a chance on him walking, but I just can't imagine that's going to happen. I do know this. If he plays really well again next year, it'll cost them even more money to keep him.
John, some interesting rules changes going on. We've got the new kickoff rules that have been okayed and or passed at the league meeting, and also the hip drop tackle. I was trying to think of the name of it. The hip drop tackle being removed as well due to injuries. Your thoughts? I know the kickoff one in particular is a change to how we're going to watch the game. I mean, that's going to be noticeable, whereas the tackles might not be as much so. But your thoughts on both of those changes?
I'd never heard the term hip drop till a couple of years ago. Now, I understood when they got rid of the horse collar, because you could watch that, and it made you cringe when you thought of the guy being bent back like that. And the hip drop tackle, I feel terrible for defensive players. Every rule that's changed is designed to help the offense, because the NFL knows fans want to see scoring. They don't want to see a pitcher's duel. They want to see scoring. They'd rather see a 35-34 than a 10-9, even though the 10-9 might be exciting right up until the end. And it's hard enough. Like, think of a quarterback. They probably should put an X on a quarterback showing where you can hit him, because you can't hit him in the head area, can't hit anybody with your helmet, and they can't hit him below the waist. And a lot of times, think about how hard it must be to tackle a guy to begin with. And when you gotta zero in on a certain part of the body, it is difficult. They'll do it. It'll create some controversy. There'll be a lot of calls we think are bad, but we'll adjust because it's a great game with great players. And they always seem to roll with the punches, but never forget, it's all about offense.
Yeah, you're right. My question about the hip drop tackle, whatever you want to call it, is that it's physics too. Now, I understand you could probably figure it out just like targeting or, using the helmet and all that. But aren't there going to be some plays that's just physics of a big 240-pound linebacker or whatever chasing down somebody and his body is whipped around because of physics and they get called for a tackle that's really not trying to be that way?
Absolutely, David. And there's guys say in preseason, you're trying to make the team. You're trying to make money for your family. And can you afford to think while you're chasing that, go, okay, can I hit him there? Can I hit him here? Oops, it's a touchdown, I'm cut. And if you back off, you're cut. It's better to go ahead and make the play and make a tackle, make a good play, and get penalized than it is to back off and get cut because you're not sure. But yes, the law of physics is going to come into it quite a bit, and that's unfortunate, but it's inevitable.
John, the replay I don't want to say expansion or having them able to contribute to intentional grounding, roughing the passer, and late hit out of bounds. How do you feel about those and inching closer to a sky judge?
I've always thought they need a sky judge. They see the same thing that we see. I'm always have been for Bill Belichick's suggestion every year. Let coaches throw a flag for any penalty. You don't get more challenges. The game's not going to be longer, but let them throw the flag. And if you can't do it in the whole game, do that in the last 2 minutes, last 4 minutes, playoffs. But we still see so many mistakes being made. So any moves they make to help officiating, I'm all for it.
John, your Baylor Bears, there were times when they looked brilliant, and there are too many times when you kind of saw some Achilles or some weaknesses or whatever, and they kind of hit them all at once against Clemson despite the comeback. Your thoughts about where they are? They're no longer a part of the tournament. I know that bothers your week.
Yes, it does, especially because I bet on them. I was in Vegas for Gary Horn, another Waco native at Baylor graduate. He and his wife, Kelly, and my wife, Carol, and I, we've gone out for the last 2 years for the first two rounds. Stayed at Caesars. It's so exciting. Watching the basketball there, it just blows me away. And, of course, I had to bet on the Bears, and I felt terrible for him. I felt terrible for Walter. He'll be a top 10 pick, maybe even higher. I think he needs to stay and eat some more and get stronger. Spend another year at Baylor would help him. And you tell him about Kendall Brown. There's a lot of those Baylor guys who've left early, and now where are they? They can't already all be Jeremy Sochan and Mitchell. But I felt bad. I was happy for the women. I watched Juju Watkins last night, every play of the game at USC because she's the next Caitlin Clark. 18 years old, fabulous player. It's going to be fun to watch them. And, boy, what an upset it would be if they could beat USC. The networks want the L.A. market because she gets a lot of attention out there. And I hope the Bears, Nick Collin, that they pull the upset.
John, I know we're in the midst of just draft season, so there's a lot of speculation, a lot of unnamed sources, a lot of just wishy-washy reports. But how much are you buying in like this JJ McCarthy love that seems to be going around a lot lately to the point of, being the number 2 guy to possibly go to the Commanders behind Caleb Williams?
Craig, scouts could look at every play of his career from every angle. They could look at all of his practice throws if they wanted to. And yet, since he looked good in his shorts and T-shirts, it's the classic case of people falling in love with a guy in his underwear. And the late, great C.O. Boccato, the greatest scout I've ever known, played at Baylor, graduate of Baylor, he always said, if you can't watch tape and make your evaluations, you shouldn't be in the business. Most people write their scouting reports in pencil so they can erase so much based on what they hear. I think it's preposterous that his stock is soaring based on what he's done in shorts and a T-shirt. Now, if the Commanders dumb enough to take him based on how he's looked in shorts and a T-shirt and based on Jim Harbaugh talking about he's the greatest quarterback prospect in the draft, he may go to the Hall of Fame. But if he bombs out, as so many do, who are picked high, they deserve everything they get. It's almost like Drake May and Jaden Daniels don't matter anymore. possibility, I guess, of seeing the top four could be quarterbacks. Arizona could trade down instead of taking Marvin Harrison. But it looks like somebody like Minnesota or Denver are going to get in a war to trade up with Arizona to try to get JJ McCarthy 4th overall. Unless, of course, he goes second. You know, I can't even believe right now some people aren't saying he's going first over Caleb Williams, other than the Bears are not trying to hide too much what their intentions are.
All right, what are your thoughts about Deion's preemptive comments about Shedeur and Shiloh in the NFL draft, or Travis Hunter?
It is amazing to me, like Shedeur Sanders taking shots at Texas high school players. It's amazing the things that those guys do. They're not the cup of tea for a lot of teams. When you're running over, showing your Rolex at the end of the game to fans of other teams. It's the kind of things Deion did, but Deion had pelts on the wall. Deion can crow and complain and do everything he wants as loud as he wants to do it, and more power to him if he can pull it off. But I think that he didn't name, or he said cities. He didn't say teams, is what I read. And if that's the way he wants to go about it, good for him. Maybe he'll be able to get his sons and Hunter right where he wants them to go. And he was praising Atlanta. If you ask most prospects coming out of college where they would like to go, I don't think there'd be a very long list of them wanting to go to the Falcons.
John, thank you very much, as always.
Hey, good luck to those Baylor Bears. Sick 'em, guys.
That's John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, usually Tuesdays